Hello, I'm Melita Easters, the Executive Director of Georgia Win List. Welcome to our interview with Sonya Halpern, the Win List endorsed candidate for Senate District 39 and the special election to be decided on December 1st. Sonya, you won an impressive 45% of the votes in November. Will you tell us about your background and how long you've lived in Atlanta?
Yes, so I am grateful as always to be back here with you again, Melita. Thank you so much. I have lived in Atlanta for 22 years, and I have lived in this district the entire 22 years that I've been in Georgia. And so, what led me here was really a path of sitting really at the intersection of business, community service, and politics over the better part of 20 years. And I had never anticipated running for office myself. In the political world, I'd always been very happy to be behind the scenes, really raising money and profile for other strong Democratic candidates. And even through the Electing Women Alliance Atlanta, which I am a founding co-chair of, really trying to get other women to get engaged in the political process, not as much around running for office and as a candidate, but really around raising money and having a seat at the table in those kinds of conversations with really good candidates. So I had never thought about running myself, but what I came to realize, particularly during this pandemic, is that good public policy impacts so much of our lived experiences, and leadership matters. And so as I started to feel a little restless and started to ask myself, am I doing enough over from March through July? Am I doing enough? Could I be doing more? What I really came to recognize is that for all of the community service and the not-for-profit work that I've been doing, ultimately there's not enough philanthropy in the world to really solve the systemic issues that exist, and it's only public policy that can do that. So I made the decision to move from that world to really trying to set policy for the state and really tackle the issues head on through the legislature. And that's what brought me to this point.
Thank you. Now, please describe for us Senate District 39 in both geographic and demographic terms.
So it is one of the larger Senate districts in the state, running north to south, just under 30 miles. It all sits in Fulton County, but it crosses into five different cities. So there's wonderful, wonderful neighborhoods across five cities that includes Atlanta, College Park, East Point, the city of South Fulton, and Union City. It is a narrow, long snake across those five cities. And it's a very diverse district. There is, I think, 62% of the district is African American. In terms of kind of economic diversity, on the lower end of the scale, average household income is more like $25,000 a year, $30,000 a year, and on the upper end of the scale, it's like $165,000 a year. So these are very, very different lived experiences, based on just kind of where you even live in the district. And but there's also a lot of really common ground as it relates to the concerns and the issues that are impacting the district at whole.
Now, I believe you have the endorsement of almost all your mayors. Is that
I have the
correct?
endorsement of every single one of those five mayors. And I'm especially proud about that, because one of the things that I think people don't realize and recognize always is that, even for me, the job as a state legislator is not a solo job. It really, requires you to be part of a team. And there are issues that will impact the different cities, and having relationships already established and already having kind of the backing of those five mayors and that relationship begun, I think would prove to be really important for the role moving forward. There's so much interjurisdictional work that needs to happen. And so I think about that both at the city level, but also nationally. I mean, because of the work that I've been doing behind the scenes in politics, I have a lot of relationships with folks that are currently sitting as senators, as congresspeople, in national offices outside of the Georgia delegation that I think would also come to bear positively for the district.
Well, now, while we're talking about policy, what are the primary concerns about important issues which you're hearing as you reach out to voters in the district?
So I am hearing pretty consistently around a few different areas: healthcare, access and affordability to healthcare. There are zip codes in this particular district that have been extraordinarily hard hit by COVID. And so the all kinds of conversations around making sure that people do have access to good, strong healthcare. I should also point out that there are places in the district too where there's not a primary care physician. So even at that kind of a granular level, there are issues. I'm hearing a lot around education, and especially making sure that we have a high quality public education available for every child in Georgia, because this is the future, and this will be the future workforce. So I hear a lot around education. I also hear a lot around economic opportunity. Not everybody is able to kind of live up to their full potential. And there are statistics that show that, particularly in kind of the metro Atlanta area, that where you are born and the class in which you are born is the predictor for the class that you will always be in through your whole entire life. And so making sure that we craft the kinds of opportunities so that people aren't just left behind because of circumstance of birth.
Well, that's a wonderful point, and you talk about it so eloquently. I'm sure your district will be well represented by you. Now, you're one of a high number of win-list endorsed women who are the mothers of children younger than 18. You have 3 children, I believe. And
Yep.
so what kind of mom perspective would you bring to the table when family decisions about the future of Georgia families are being discussed?
Yeah, so women and children are, really important to me. I do have 3 children. My kids, I've got 2 sons. One is about to turn 17, another son is 13, and then I have a daughter who's 5. So one of the most obvious things that I can say is that I many of the things that we talk about are also kind of lived experiences for me. So I don't just bring like leadership experience, but I bring the experience of being a parent in a pandemic who has children actually going to school and learning virtually, and what the impact of that is and how that actually looks on the ground. I have 2 sons, as I said, who are both teenagers. So I have the experience lived of being an African American mom of Black boys, and the kinds of fears that we actually live with, and the worries that we have, particularly for me, now that I have a son who's about to really start driving.
Well, and he's tall in those pictures,
He's
so
six foot
you've had to
two.
have the talk with him.
He is 6'2" and just about to turn 17. Absolutely. We've had the talk. And even for my 13-year-old, because there is a point at which, Black boys really just start to be perceived differently. And it doesn't matter where you live, and it doesn't matter where you go to school, and it doesn't matter any of those circumstances. People look and make some presumptions. So I understand what that means. Um, I think a lot about opportunity. So my children may go to college, they may not. That's yet to be determined because we're not at that point. But what I know for sure is that every child should have the opportunity to live up to their full potential. And if college is not for them, then we still need to create pathways of opportunity, whether that's through vocational training and trades, or we've got to provide hope for people so that they understand that there are different kinds of options available for them to be, part of society and productive and support themselves and support their families. And so I think a lot about that. My husband and I happen to be business owners, so I also kind of have a sweet spot around entrepreneurship. And so I just think when you've got women at the table, we think a lot about every aspect of the family and how public policy and policies impact our families as a whole and therefore our communities. We are the backbones of our community. And so the perspective that we have just ends up being oftentimes, and certainly would be for me, more holistic in terms of the interconnectivity around some of these things as well.
Well, now you've already mentioned the women's initiative that brought you in touch with many women from other parts of the country running for federal office. Also, former President Barack Obama appointed you to the national board associated with the Kennedy Center, and you blazed a trail as the first Black and the first Georgian to chair that board. How did this service and those connections prepare you to help the people of your Senate district?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I've always been really good at is building coalitions and having relationships that that can come to bear on the next thing that I'm doing. I believe very much in creating trusting environments. I believe very much in listening. I believe a lot in creating a vision together with other people and then figuring out how to execute on that vision. And so the relationships that I've built at the Kennedy Center, relationships that I still have, the relationships that I've built in the different not-for-profits that I've been in leadership roles in here in Atlanta exist as well. And so I think what people in general would tell you about me is that I really am somebody who's dedicated, passionate. I know when to compromise when I need to, and I know when to hold my principles when there's too much at stake to not do that. And so those are some of the lessons that I've learned over the years that I definitely will bring with me to the Gold Dome.
Wonderful. Now, the time frame for a special election is quite brief. So
Yeah.
tell us how you're getting the word out about your campaign and what you're doing to encourage voters to return to the polls on December the 1st.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about my race is it's a state Senate race, and people hear Senate and they think US Senate and they think January 5th. So the first thing is the December 1st is the date for this one. I am doing all of the kind of traditional things, which is what we did all along, even to get to this point. So I'm back on the phones, I'm back knocking doors. I'm sending out different kinds of communication to folks to let them know. And there's a few different things that I think it's really important that people understand about this runoff. One, yes, it is on December 1st. Early, and there will be a couple of other races that are also happening on December 1st. But for my race, because certification of Tuesday's results is not expected to happen until November 20th, early voting for my race will be November 23rd, 24th, and 25th. That's Thanksgiving week, the Monday through Wednesday. That may change, but right now that's the information that we have. And so we're making sure that we're telling people that. The other thing is that, once again, this is still a special election runoff. And as we understand it, special election means special ballot. So I am also still trying to message the fact that people should just make sure that when they go in to ask and make sure that they're getting the ballot for the Senate District 39 race, and not assume that every one of the races that are happening December 1st will definitely be on your ballot if you're eligible.
Well, tell us how people find out more about you on social media, your website, and how they might volunteer.
Yes. Okay. So my website, I'll start there. It's www.sonya, and that's SONYA, the number 4, GA.com. And you can follow me on social. It's the same. It's at Sonya for GA. So follow me. We're doing messages there. We will be putting volunteer opportunities for people to register on the website and pushing that through social. I would love to have anybody who wants to come and wave signs with me or knock on doors with me or even phone bank with me to do that.
Well, thank you so much. We wish you all the luck in the world. We look forward to having you under the Gold Dome in January. Thank you for your courage to be on the ballot and for the well-run campaign that you're conducting.
Thank you so much.